It's time for girls high school fast pitch softball on the NCW Live channel. Today from Walla Walla Point Park on the shores of the beautiful Columbia River, the Wenatchee Panthers play host to the Eastmont Wildcats. High school sports on the NCW Live channel is brought to you by the Wenatchee Valley YMCA. And now let's go to the diamond. Alongside Steve Sandman, here's our very own Grant Olson.
Hello and welcome everyone to Walla Walla Point Park for our first broadcast of the season of girls fast pitch softball. Big Nine matchup today between the Eastmont Wildcats and the Wenatchee Panthers. I'm Grant Olson. Great to have you along today. And it's a special day for me because today with me, joining me on the broadcast, my longtime broadcast partner, Steve Sandman. Steve, great to have you here.
Good to be here with you. This will be a great day for softball between a big rivalry and two clubs that have a lot on the line this afternoon.
And Steve, it's kind of strange. These two teams, 6 games left in the season, playing for the first time. Normally in this kind of series, it's an early game and then maybe a couple of late games. The first time they're seeing each other this year, and they find themselves in second and third place. So these are big games today and then that doubleheader on Friday.
Well, that builds it up towards the end of the season with them not having met earlier in the year. And now they play each other 3 times between now and the end of the week. And it's all on the line for seeding in the Big Nine tournament, which is going to come up starting in May, later in May.
Eastmont 12-3 coming into this one, and Wenatchee 11-5. So a couple games separating these two teams, but boy, Eastmont's got a tough road ahead. These last 6 games, they've got 3 against Wenatchee and then 3 against Moses Lake, who is just off the charts good this year. So it's a tough road for Eastmont. These 3 games against Wenatchee are very important for them.
Well, they are very important, particularly with the imbalance of the schedules with 3 and 6 games left with each other. But, you know, you could see a lot of runs between these two teams. I'll be interested to see how well they play defense because that could make the difference in this game today.
When we come back, we will visit with Wenatchee Panther head coach Brent Grothe and Eastmont Wildcats head coach Cliff Johnson as our pregame show continues right here on the NCW Life channel after this. Stay with us. Pre-game show on the NCW Life channel continues as joining me both head coaches of Wenatchee and Eastmont before the game starts. We'll begin with head coach Cliff Johnson of the Eastmont Wildcats. And coach, a little tougher run. You guys are neck and neck with Wenatchee pretty much going down the stretch now. You have 6 games left to go. Wenatchee has 3, and you got some tough ones still to come.
Yeah, we got a tough road ahead of us. I think that today's going to be a slugfest. I think that all 3 games with Wenatchee will be a slugfest, and I think it's going to come down to defense today. Moses Lake is always tough, you know, perennial league champions, and you know, we've taken a few games from them the last couple of years, and if we can get to their pitcher, I think we can maybe get a game or 2 out of them.
So what are you expecting out of the Panthers today?
You know what? I think it's going to be a lot like playing ourselves. If you look at the scores, we're pretty similar. I think there's going to be a lot of hitting from both sides. I expect the Panthers to pitch well and to hit well.
Thanks so much, Coach. Turning now to Coach Brent Grothe of the Wenatchee Panthers. And, Coach, a little easier road coming down this stretch, and we just talked with Coach Johnson. You have 3 games, though, with Eastmont still to come. 2 games separate you right now. So these are big games this week.
Yeah, these are big games. Whoever takes this series 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 3 is probably going to lock up second, depending on how Eastmont does with Moses next week. But like Cliff was saying, Moses is tough, and you have to jump on them pretty early and then try to hold them down with good pitching, and they're tough to hold down. So I think this is a big series right here for both of us right now.
And a little bit different this year, coming down the stretch, and the first time you guys have met this year, this late in the season. That's kind of different, isn't it?
Well, yeah, you know, it's one of those things where we'd like to play each other twice in a season, in the front and in the back, because then we could get a good look at each other, you know, with all teams. But you know, it kind of sets up some good stuff for us, you know, playing your crosstown rivals at the end of the season, a lot of things on the line. It's fun for the kids, and I think they're looking forward to it.
Coach Brent Grothe of the Wenatchee Panthers, Coach Cliff Johnson of the Eastmont Wildcats, thanks for joining me. When we come back, first pitch from Walla Walla Park right here on the NCW Life channel right after this. Grant Olson, Steve Salmon in the booth here at Walla Walla Point Park, getting set for the Eastmont Wildcats and the Wenatchee Panthers. Big Nine softball action. Let's take a look at tonight's starting lineups. We'll begin with the homestanding Wenatchee Panthers. Batting first and playing shortstop is Kristen Sanford. Batting second and in center field is Olivia Ramirez. Missy Bennett bats third. She's number 3, second baseman. Kaylee Sanford pitching tonight, or this afternoon, I should say, and she's batting cleanup. Beth Shavilicek bats 5th. She catches tonight. Callista Strickland is in right field, batting 6th. Batting 7th is Michaela Michael at third base. First baseman Maddie Peters bats 8th. And rounding out the lineup for the Panthers in left field is Kat Smith. And for the Eastmont Wildcats, first up, Nia Peasley in center field. Great speed out there. Emily Craddock is at third base, batting second. Colby Vauchal is at shortstop. She'll be batting third. The cleanup spot tonight is Kenzie Young at second base. Zoe Sundett is in right field, batting 5th. Batting 6th is Caitlin Duncan at first base. The pitcher, Riley Cox, bats 7th. In left field is Maya McGuire, batting 8th. And rounding out the lineup for the Eastmont Wildcats is the catcher, Kylie Cordell. Once again, head coach for Eastmont Wildcats is Cliff Johnson. Head coach for the Wenatchee Panthers is Brent Grothe. And Steve, couldn't ask for better weather for softball
No,
today.
actually,
unbelievable, isn't it?
Game time temperature will be around 67 degrees, partly cloudy skies, but there's no wind.
Oh.
And on these skinned fields, you don't want any wind because the dirt just blows all over the place. Not to mention it doesn't impact the fly balls into the outfield either. So
exactly right.
The game ought to be pretty good. Be interesting to see how hungry the Panthers are here, because they were atop the standings for 5 weeks, and now they find themselves third after Moses Lake swept them last week. But the Chiefs remain undefeated, and the Chiefs are going to come into play as we wind down the regular season.
Boy, it's a tough go for Eastmont coming down the stretch, Steve, with Eastmont 3 against Wenatchee here starting today, and then 3 this weekend, or I should say next week, against the Chiefs, who just seem unbeatable this year, and they've got quite a program going over there.
Well, and you're jockeying for seeds in the Big Nine tournament. You know, the bottom 4 will have play-in games first before they even get into the meat of the Big Nine tournament. So there's a lot on the line, over the next several days between these two clubs.
And Steve, you get second, you get a little bit of a break. It's 6 against 3 and 5 against 4, so you want that number 2 spot, and you can join Moses Lake then and take a little breather, maybe get healthy from some nagging injuries throughout the year, but there's an advantage of being in that number 2 spot.
Well, and Moses Lake's got a real advantage because they get to sit through almost the entire tournament till you get to the last weekend of the tournament, and then they take on whoever's advanced through the play-in and the opening rounds of the Big Nine tournament.
Absolutely right. So we're just about set to go. Wenatchee in their home white uniforms and purple pants. Eastmont, the visitors, in black pants and red and blue tops. And we are just about underway. Nia Peasley steps up to the plate. She'll hit first against senior Kaylee Sanford. It was senior night here at the ballpark. Only 2 seniors on Wenatchee's team. First pitch from the left-hander, a little bit high, ball 1. 1-0 the count here. Kaylee Sanford, one of the seniors, the other senior on senior day here, Riley Phillips, who we'll see a little bit later on as well today. Second pitch outside from Sanford. Count goes to 2-0. Nia Peasley, very good basketball player too, Steve. We covered a few games of her this year.
Well, she's got good, if she gets the ball on the ground, she's got good speed.
Got some aluminum on that one, and it fouled off over the first base line. 2-1 the count. No scoreboard. We're going to have to be on our toes here today, Steve.
I'm making lots of notes.
We're used to a scoreboard. Here comes the 2-1 pitch, and it's very high. Right over the catcher, Kylie Cordell, I should say, Beth Shavilicek's head. And 3-1 the count on the center fielder, Nia Peasley. Eastmont 11-1 in league play, Wenatchee 12-3. So 2 games separate these 2 teams with 6 games remaining, and Nia Peasley draws a walk. So early on here, Kaylee Sanford, a little bit of trouble finding that strike zone high on a couple of pitches, and Peasley fouled one off, and that brings up third baseman now, Emily Craddock. With Peasley on at first base. Here's the windup, the lefty once again high and outside from Sanford. And it's 1-0, having a little bit of tough time here finding the strike zone early on. Sanford rocks, delivers, swing and a miss. And it's evened up now at 1 ball, 1 strike. What a great view from here, this field, Steve. You got the Columbia River out past center field, beautiful Walla Walla Point Park.
Well, and for those of you that have never been out here, there's actually 4 fields. We sit in a tower.
That's right.
And all 4 sides face the fields.
Craddock gets a piece of that one, but just out of play, and Maddie Peters can't make a play on it from first base, and the count now evens up at 2 balls, 2 strikes, I believe. I'm going to have to keep asking you, Steve. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
So this is the first time that...
You're an umpire. You probably just memorize this stuff, don't you?
I quit using a clicker long ago.
Oh, I bet you did.
This is the first time that Sanford's been ahead on the count.
It is. Peasley on at first. This one's low and outside. Veshavilicek, she wants to throw one down to Peters at first because Peasley easing off that first base bag. 2 balls, 2 strikes now on the third baseman, Emily Craddock. Here's the pitch right down the middle, and it's to the short baseman, Kristen Sanford, over to second base, Bennett, and that is out number 1.
Tight play at second base. I thought that took a lot of guts for the shortstop to go to second because Peasley got a great jump off the bag.
Boy, she can move too, can't she? 1 out now brings up shortstop Colby Vauchal. On at first base is Emily Craddock. Pitch outside. 1-0 the count. Eastmont a few more seniors in their roster, Steve, 5 compared to Panthers 2.
Well, this was senior days, so they introduced them all.
A number to the second baseman, Bennett, over to second base for 1, and not quite in time to get the double play, but it's 2 out now. As the cleanup hitter, Kenzie Young, comes to the plate, playing second base.
So 2 fielders' choices and a walk and 2 fielders' choices. So, she's struggling with the count, but she hasn't allowed a hit yet.
That's right, late on that swing, and it goes foul down the right field, or I should say the first base line for Kenzie Young. Kenzie Young is only a sophomore. Boy, I'll tell you, a young team, Steve, the Wenatchee Panther boys team. They have, I believe, 2 seniors on that whole team, 9 sophomores on that Panther roster. A lot of youngsters this year. Outside on that pitch, steal, and the ball gets away from the shortstop, Sanford. And Colby Vauchal goes down to second base. 2 out, runner on second for the Wildcats. At the plate, Kenzie Young, the second baseman. Top of the first, just underway here from Walla Walla Point Park. Great to have you along today. Here's the lefty, Sanford, a swing and a miss.
Boy, big league by Vauchal off second base. She was halfway down the line to third.
Sanford looks in. Here's the lefty, the pitch high. Vauchal, you're right, she did it again, Steve, about halfway down there.
Well, and it's tempting to try to make a play, but you run into trouble if you try to throw behind the runner because you give him a chance to advance.
Absolutely. 2-2 the count. Ball on that pitch, a little bit low too. Took something off that one, a bit of a changeup. And we've got a full count now. 3 balls, 2 strikes to the batter, Kenzie Young. Sanford looks in. Here's the pitch, and it's fouled back. Count remains full now. 3 balls, 2 strikes. So as we mentioned, these 2 teams will hook up again this Friday. This time it'll be at the Sterling Fields at Sterling Middle School in East Wenatchee. It'll be a doubleheader this Friday, 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock. Boy, these are huge games for the Eastmont Wildcats. Just a piece of that one, too, and the count stays full at 3-2.
Boy, that was ball 4-2. That was up around her shoulders.
I think she kind of knew it, too.
I think she'd like to have that one back where she pulled the bat back.
Once again, Colby Vauchal on at second base. As Steve mentioned, it's a couple of fielder's choice, and it's 2 outs here in the top of the first inning. Here's Sanford, deals home Nice changeup that time. That was very close, but it's a walk. And the second walk in the inning given up by Sanford. Now runners at first and second. That brings up the right fielder, Zoe Sundet. Sundet, only a freshman out here, Steve. Right-handed batter against the senior, Kaylee Sanford, the lefty. Here's the first pitch, right over the plate, strike one.
Well, you know Sundet would love to get a base hit here. She's got a runner in scoring position. And Eastmont would love to draw first blood here against the Panthers.
Boy, they sure would. 2 out here. Ball gets away from the catcher, Shavilicek. Both runners advance. Now that takes the force away, too. So runners at second and third for the Wildcats as Young goes down to second. Vishal down to third base. Sanford looks in. Here's the pitch. Fastball late on the swing. And that's a strike. Count 1-2 to the right fielder, Zoe Sundet. Sanford looking in again. Here's the pitch. Popped up in the infield. It looks like to the shortstop, Kristen Sanford. She makes the catch. And that retires the side for the Eastmont Wildcats. No runs, no hits, no errors. We go to the bottom of the first inning. No score here from Walla Walla Point Park. Wenatchee Panthers and the Eastmont Wildcats. We'll take 30 seconds and be right back. Stay here on the NCW Life Channel. Bottom of the first inning we go. No score here from Walla Walla Point Park. The first time the Panthers have been up to the plate to face Riley Cox. Cox is a senior on this Eastmont team. And first up for the Panthers, shortstop Kristen Sanford.
Interesting how evenly matched these two teams are in league play. They both score about 14 runs a game and allow between 7 and 8 runs by their opponents.
First pitch inside to Sanford, 0-1, or 1-0, I should say. And Coach Johnson mentioned that in our coaches interview that he thought this was going to be a shootout today. Both teams scoring all those runs. So far, not so much, but we're early on here, bottom of the first inning. That one's low, 2-0 now the count to the freshman shortstop, Kristen Sanford. On this beautiful spring day here in the Wenatchee Valley. Right-handed pitcher is Riley Cox, left-handed batter Sanford. This one, just a piece of it into the backstop. Takes the count to 2-1. Other games happening in the Big Nine this afternoon. Davis is at Sunnyside. That's at 4 p.m. 4 p.m. start as well today. Both teams pretty much out of it so far in the race this year. Popped up to the catcher, and Kylie Cordell makes the grab, an easy one for out number one. Brings up center fielder now, Olivia Ramirez. Ramirez, a sophomore on this Panther team. She'll be followed by Missy Bennett, the second baseman, and then Kaylee Sanford, if they get that far, the pitcher. Right-handed batter this time, Ramirez facing the righty, gets a piece of it, a dribbler to the second baseman, Kinsey Young. Easy toss over to Duncan, and that is out number two quickly for the Panthers. So it brings up Bennett. She also a sophomore. 3 sophomores in a row to start off the 1-2-3 here for the Panthers. Another right-handed batter for Wenatchee.
Cox pretty efficient for Eastmont through 2 batters. She's only thrown like 4 pitches.
And there's another one, a pop fly, shallow center. Running in is Nia Peasley and makes the catch. And that's 1-2-3 for the Wildcats. And after one, no runs, no hits, no errors, we are scoreless as we go to inning number 2 right here on the NCW Life Channel. We're back in 60 seconds. Top of the second inning we go, and up first for the Wildcats is Caitlin Duncan, the first baseman, only a sophomore. This will be a lefty on lefty. Still out there, Kaylee Sanford for the Panthers. After Duncan, it's Riley Cox, the pitcher, and the left fielder, Maya McGuire. So the senior, Kaylee Sanford, unscathed in that top of the first inning. First pitch fouled off by Duncan. 0-1 the count. Today's broadcast is brought to you by the Wenatchee Valley YMCA for youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. Here's the pitch, high and outside this time from Sanford. Got away from her a little bit. 1-1 the count. Great crowd on hand here, too. I think combination of senior night and now the importance of this game right now. You know, it all kind of combined to bring out this crowd today. A good one.
Well, that's one of the things you got to love about high school sports is, I mean, they really get behind their teams. And a vocal crowd. You can hear them in the background as well.
You really can. 1-2 the count now. To the first baseman, Caitlin Duncan, swing and a miss, and the first strikeout of the ball game for Kaylee Sanford. So the pitcher Cox comes to the plate. She'll be followed by Maya McGuire, the left fielder for these Wildcats. Riley Cox, a senior, one of 5 we mentioned on the roster, facing fellow senior Kaylee Sanford. First pitch. Right to the shortstop, Kristen Sanford, over to the first baseman, Maddie Peters, and that is out number 2.
Textbook hop for the shortstop. I mean, got a big hop right into her glove.
Boy, she really did. You want those, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Particularly on these dirt fields, you just never know. That was a great play by her at short.
Made it look easy. Maya McGuire now to the plate, shows bunt, fouls it back. 0-1 the count. McGuire, only a freshman. She's the second freshman that starts on this Eastmont team. I think they're going to be around for a while, Steve. Both these clubs will
very young.
We'll hear these names a lot over the next couple of years. Here's the pitch outside. Took something off that one. If McGuire happens to get on, she'll be followed by the number 9 hitter, Kylie Cordell, the catcher. Sanford brings it, swing and a miss by McGuire, and Sanford a very efficient top of the second inning so far.
Well, settled down, particularly after that first inning. A little rocky getting behind on the count. She done very well here in the second.
Another piece of it that time by McGuire, fouls it straight back. You're right, Steve. She was a little bit, maybe nerves played a little bit of a part in that. She was one of the 2 seniors. Probably lots of family here.
And a big game.
And it's a huge game. Sanford looks into Shavilicek. It's the sign. Here's the pitch. Boy, awfully close on that outside corner. A little rumble from the Wenatchee fans below us here. That evens up the count. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Third baseman, Michaela Michael, playing in somewhat. Here's the pitch, swing and a miss, and that is out number 3. 2 strikeouts in this inning for Kaylee Sanford. And we go to the bottom of the second. Once again, no hits, no runs, no errors, and our score 0-0 with Wenatchee coming to bat. Stay with us. Bottom of the second for the Wenatchee Panthers as they come to the plate. 0-0 our score so far here from Walla Walla Point Park. We thought we'd see lots of base runners today, Steve, and so far we haven't. The Panthers, 3 batters that first inning, and Eastmont only 3 batters in the top of the second. So the pitchers doing their job so far in this one. Once again, it's Riley Cox on the mound. First batter swinging is Kaylee Sanford, a pop-up to the shortstop, Colby Vauchal, and that's out number 1 quickly for the Panthers.
Well, here comes the batter with the last name we recognize from her brother played basketball for the Wenatchee Panthers.
Beth Shavilicek, the catcher, batting in the number 5 spot. Here's the first pitch, a little bit late on that, fouls it into the backstop. Beth Shavilicek, a junior on this Panther squad. Right-hander against right-hander here. It's Riley Cox and Beth Shavilicek. On deck is Callista Strickland. Here's the pitch late on that swing. Shavilicek, and quickly 0-2 the count. One out here, bottom of the second. As Cox looks in, gets the sign from her catcher, Kylie Cordell. Here's the pitch. Swing again, and it's just to our right. And out of play. Count stays at 1-2. Once again, the next games for both of these teams will be against each other on Friday. There's a hit, and it's right over the shortstop's head. So our first base runner of the game from a hit is Beth Shavilicek. She's on at first base, so Callista Strickland comes to the plate, the right fielder, and she'll be followed by Michaela Michael at third base. Infield playing very shallow, Steve. Both teams, I've noticed that.
Particularly the third baseman.
And I've noticed the Panther third baseman doing the same thing. So a bunt is on their mind, I think, here, with both teams with some speed. Swing and a miss by Callista Strickland. Strike one. Throw down to first base, not in time.
Well, Shavilicek's base hit to left field is the first hit in this game by either club.
It is. Swing and a miss again by Strickland. With Beth Shavilicek on first base, and 0-2 the count here to the right fielder, Strickland. Strickland, a junior for the Panthers, a number, but it gets by the second baseman. That should send Shavilicek to third. She got the green light. She heads that way, and she is safe there. As Strickland now, the second hit in this inning, to the right side, and Panthers have runners at the corners on first and third. There's something cooking here now in the bottom of the second inning. That brings up the third baseman, Michaela Michael, and she'll be followed by the first baseman, Maddie Peters. Another right-handed batter for the Panthers with runners at the corners. Pitch catches that inside corner on a fastball, and it's 0-1 quickly to the third baseman, Michaela Michaels.
Well, now the infield's really playing in, because if it's a ground ball, they want to look at that runner at third and try to hold her there before they make the play.
Here's the pitch, swing and a miss by Michael. One out here, bottom of the second. Panthers runners at the corners. The pitch high and outside. The runner at first base. Strickland goes to second, and uncontested. Cut off there by the shortstop. They don't want to make a play that way and send that third base runner, right, Steve?
No, that's usually a called play. If she goes, there's a signal by the catcher to cut it off to make sure that runner doesn't score.
Michaela Michael remains at the plate. Runners at second and third. Fouled off down the first base line over the fence. And the count 1-2. Bottom of the second inning. Panthers trying to get a run across here to break this 0-0 tie. Cox, the pitcher, once again, almost exactly like the last foul ball. Just a little bit late on that, huh, Steve? Twice in a row now by Michael. What would it be like out there? I was thinking about that, watching Riley Cox with the mask on pitching. She may have been hit at one time or another, right?
Well, and it's always a safety issue. And you see it in college ball sometimes as well.
Another late swing and another foul ball into the backstop. And the count remains 1-2.
So this infield still drawn in on a ground ball. They're going to look to make sure and see if they can cut the run off at the plate, or at least fake her back before they go to first.
Right. This time Michael gets a piece of it. It's in foul territory, and the second baseman, Kenzie Young, made a run at it but couldn't quite get to it, and the count remains 1 ball, 2 strikes.
So that's one of those pop fouls where you got to make a decision. Do you let it drop for a foul ball because you're running with your back to it, or do you catch it and see if you can spin around if the runner tags up at third? And that's a tough play going backwards.
That's a great point,
You almost let it drop.
Absolutely. Another foul ball by Michael. Well, she's making Cox work for it here.
On all the foul balls. I mean, she's still a little late on her swing, Grant, because all the foul balls are off to the right.
Right. Boy, Michaela Michael with a great opportunity here with a base hit to bring a run, maybe 2 home here for the Panthers. Another late swing and fouled back over the backstop into the net. And our count stays at 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Remember the old rule when you were playing street ball as a kid, and if you fouled 10 off, you were automatically out to keep the game to keep the game moving.
I do remember that. Did it ever happen to you, Steve?
No, you have to make contact with the ball to foul it off. So that one.
This pitch down in the dirt and inside.
Tell you what, good block by the catcher there, getting down on her knees to keep that from going by.
Kylie Cordell, a nice job there, and the count now even at 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, you let that go by, and it hits that short backstop. You just never know where that ball's going.
Boy, that's true, too, isn't it?
On the ricochet.
This time, Michael, does she keep it in play? No, just over Caitlin Duncan's head at first base and foul, so our count remains 2 balls, 2 strikes. One thing about it, Michael's not getting cheated at this at bat. I think she's seen about 10 pitches now, don't you?
Well, she can waste a pitch. It's still, 2-2.
2-2.
See if she goes inside on her, tries to jam her.
Fouled off again. On the roof of our broadcast facility here at Walla Walla Point Park. Once again, Michael will be followed by Maddie Peters, the first baseman. Cox looks in, the pitch inside. Full count now, 3 balls, 2 strikes to Michaela Michael. Steve, baseball game going on too at 5 o'clock. We're broadcasting that here on the NCW Life channel. Eric Granstrom handling the duties there. And we will broadcast that tonight at 7 o'clock, Wenatchee Eastmont baseball, as Michael fouls that off. Recording this game too, Steve, we'll broadcast this Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. So you folks that want to catch the game, 8 o'clock Wednesday night. Count remains full, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Here's Cox. And another foul. I wish we were counting pitches here.
I'll tell you what, though, if she ends up getting on base through a walk or a base hit, this becomes a terrific at-bat, fouling as many pitches off and just keeping her in the batter's box. And she's making Cox use a lot of pitches.
Absolutely. Cox looks in, fires. Ball is smacked right up the middle. It's off the shortstop with Shaw. Shavilicek scores. Here comes the runner Strickland. She crosses the plate, and to second base is Michaela Michael as the ball gets away from the catcher. And the Panthers go up 2-0, 2 RBIs on that single from Michaela Michael, and she got all of that one. So the Panthers with 3 consecutive hits and now 2 runs. So 3 hits in this inning and 2 runs, and the Panthers lead it 2-0.
Well, and I think what you got to do is, so that's a single on a base hit and an error on the throw to the catcher, which allowed her to advance to second base.
So it really wasn't a double.
No, it's a hit and an error.
Right. Fouled off is Maddie Peters now at the plate, number 13. She plays first base. Another sophomore on this Panther team, and she'll be followed by Kat Smith, the left fielder. That's one's over the plate for strike. Runner at second base, Michaela Michael, with that 2 RBI single, and the Panthers lead this 2-0. We're just in the bottom of the second. Here's Cox. Late swing on that one, and that's strike 3. And the first strikeout now of the ball game for Riley Cox. 2 outs now in the inning. That brings up the number 9 hitter, Kat Smith, for the Panthers. Smith, only a freshman, and a left-handed batter. Once again on at second base, Michaela Michael. Here's the pitch. Over the outside corner, strike 1. So Cox gave up 3 consecutive hits, now a strikeout, and leading in the count 0-1. Swing and a miss, and it's 0-2. You know, I'm thinking, Steve, freshmen starting at varsity level at Wenatchee High School or Eastmont, how good were these girls in middle school?
No kidding, huh?
Look at that hit, opposite field by the freshman Smith. And they will hold Michael at third base, but that was a nice job of hitting by the freshman. Went with the pitch there, Steve. It was a little bit outside and just punched it right over Emily Craddock, the third baseman's head. So the Panthers runners at the quarters again as we go to the top of the order. And Kristen Sanford, the shortstop. She just popped up to the catcher her first time up. Back in the bottom of the first inning. Left-hander against the right-handed pitcher. Swing and a miss on an outside pitch. Once again on at first base, Kat Smith, Michaela Michael at third. Infield in, especially the third baseman once again, Emily Craddock. Outfield playing straight away. Here's the pitch. Took something off that one a little bit low. On Kristen Sanford. Followed by, if the Panthers get that far, Olivia Ramirez. A piece of that one late on the swing. It's fouled back over the third base line. Trying to get the count from the umpire, Steve. I don't know the count right now. It's 2 strikes, no balls, 2 strikes. You know it. You're going to know it all day, aren't you, Steve? And another hit for the Panthers as Sanford puts one just outside the reach of Kenzie Young. That allows Michaela Michael to score. And an RBI single for Kristen Sanford. So Michael scores, it makes it 3-0. Kat Smith goes to second base.
4 hits for the Panthers, all coming here in the second inning.
And the batter, Olivia Ramirez, a ground out to the second baseman, her first time up. Should be followed by Missy Bennett. Runners at first and second. Sanford at first, Smith at second. A dribbler to the second baseman, Young, over to first base, Duncan. And that is out number 3. So the Panthers, 4 hits there, Steve, 1 error and 3 runs, 3 runs. And the Panthers, as we move to the top of the third inning, lead it 3-0 with the Wildcats coming to back. We're back after this. Stay with us. Top of the third inning we go. The Panthers lead it 3-0. 4 hits that last bottom of the second, and the Panthers now lead it. And Steve, there's lots happening on the NCW Life channel over the next couple of days. We will rebroadcast this game at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Spruce Grove at Wenatchee Wild. Game 1 will be at 7 p.m. on Thursday. And then Friday, it's the Kai's Fiber Youth Parade rerun. We'll show that at 1 p.m. And then it's the Classy Chassis Parade at 6:30 this Friday. And I will be doing that Classy Chassis Parade with Town Nissan's Brent Crowder.
It's always a great event out there at East Wenatchee.
It's
so much fun.
It is going to be a lot of fun. First hitter here for the Eastmont Wildcats in the top of the third inning, Kylie Cordell. She's a right-handed batter facing the senior pitcher, Kaylee Sanford, who's having a pretty nice game so far. A couple of strikeouts and no hits yet by the Wildcats. Cordell, the catcher, right up the middle. It hits Sanford in the heel, in the feet. Can she get it over there in time? No, it gets away from the first baseman, Maddie Peters. But Cordell won't advance to second base. What happened? Sanford hit her in, I think, the front of the ankles, kind of, and then she lost track of where the ball went. By the time she found it, it was too late.
So that'll go as a base hit.
making sure she's okay. That ball was hit hard, right up the middle. And Eastmont now, their first hit of the day. And it's Cordell on at first base. Next up to bat is Nia Peasley, the top of the order. Walked her first time up. No out runner at first base for the Wildcats. Here's the pitch by Sanford. Change up, nicely done, just misses. And 1-0 the count. Center fielder Ramirez shading Peasley just towards right field. Here's the pitch, fastball high, and then it's a strike. It wasn't that high. And the count evens at 1-1. Once again, Kylie Cordell at first base. Sanford, the lefty, delivers outside on that pitch.
Tell you what, that's why I could never be a pitcher. I'd live in fear of the comebacker every time I let go of the ball.
You know, it would have to, I guess you just got to put it out of your mind, right? High and inside on that pitch. Peasley, good eye, as we mentioned. She walked the first time up. 3 balls, 1 strike on the senior Peasley. With Kylie Cordell on at first base. 3-0. Panthers lead it here, top of the 3rd inning. Pitch high again, and that will send Peasley to first base, her 2nd walk of the game. And that'll bring up the 3rd baseman, Emily Craddock, who grounded out to shortstop her first time up, and she'll be followed by Colby Voschal, the shortstop. That's a 3rd walk now by Kaylee Sanford as well, and it's a bunt right in front of the plate. Nicely done, and the force at 3rd base, they do get the runner there. Kylie Cordell. So Emily Craddock will stay at first base on a fielder's choice. Nia Peasley on to 2nd. So 1 out here now, top of the 3rd inning. Runners at first base, Craddock at first, Nia Peasley at 2nd. Colby Voschal will bat now, the right-handed hitter. Grounded out to the 2nd baseman, her first time up. Sanford high on that pitch, 1-0 the count.
I'll tell you just how big that play was, that throw down to 3rd, to keep that runner, you know, from being that close to scoring position.
Oh, the heads-up play by Shvilicek.
Very
really
much.
Was. Here's the pitch, right on the outside corner. Evens up the count, 1 ball, 1 strike now to the shortstop, Colby Voschal. Good piece of iron on that one. A nice play, Callista Strickland in right field makes the catch. I think it was, hello, look what I've got in my mitt, but it holds the runners at 1st and 2nd as well, and a nice play by the right fielder, Callista Strickland. That'll bring up Kenzie Young now, the 2nd baseman, who walked her first time up as well. 2 outs now here, top of the 3rd inning. Pop up, first base side. Who's going to grab that? And Maddie Peter just kind of got twisted up there. I think she could have made a play on that. It wasn't too far past first base, but just kind of got her body twisted there and couldn't make the play.
Well, that's one of those plays that, depending on the speed of the 2nd baseman, a lot of times you'll see the 2nd baseman come over and make the play, because she's not running backwards.
That's a great point, too. A much easier play for the 2nd
Yeah, it's a tough
baseman.
play for a first baseman. I don't care how good you are, it's a tough play.
Swing and a miss by Young. And it's quickly 0-2 on the Wildcats' 2nd baseman. Once again, runners at 1st and 2nd. Craddock at 1st, Nia Peasley at 2nd. Pitch just outside. Fastball by Sanford. If Young reaches base, should be followed by Zoe Sundette. Two strikeouts so far for Sanford in this one. This one's outside for a ball. 2 balls, 2 strikes now on Young, the 2nd baseman. Here's the delivery. Hot shot down to first base. Maddie Peters makes the play, steps on the bag, and that retires the Wildcats. So the Wildcats 1 hit, no errors, and no runs in the top of the third. As we go to the bottom of the third, it's Wenatchee 3 and Eastmont nothing. Panthers coming to bat right after this. Bottom of the third inning, Panthers coming to bat, and first up is the second baseman, Missy Bennett, who flew out to center field her first time up. She'll be followed by Kaylee Sanford, the pitcher, and then the catcher, Beth Shavilacek. Shavilacek, by the way, the first hit of our ball game back in the second inning.
Well, she started off that 3-run rally.
She did, and then Michaela Bennett a couple RBIs on a single. Once again, Riley Cox, the pitcher, stays out here in the bottom of the third inning. 3-0, Panthers lead it. Here's the pitch. That's a strike on the outside part of the plate. On the second baseman, Missy Bennett. Smacked into center field. The center fielder Peasley easily fading back, making the catch, and that's out number one for the Panthers. You're not going to get many balls over Peasley's head, I don't think, or having too many drop in front of her. She's got some
she
speed
moves pretty
out there.
quick, and she gets a good. If you just when we just saw, she got a good jump on the ball too.
She did. Now it's Kaylee Sanford, the pitcher. She popped up to the pitcher the last time. This time she pops up to the catcher. And that's quickly out number two. So 2 pop-ups for the pitcher, Kaylee Sanford. And that'll bring up the catcher, Beth Shavilacek. You said Steve mentioned that she got it all started, the rally for the Panthers in the bottom of the second. Shavilacek, right-handed hitter, facing the right-handed thrower, Cox. Here's the first pitch. Easy fly ball to the first baseman, Duncan. 3 up, 3 down. No hits, no runs, no errors. And we are now moving quickly to the top of the fourth inning. It's Wenatchee 3 and Eastmont nothing. We're back after this. Top of the fourth inning here at Walla Walla Point Park. Grant Olson along with Steve Sandman today, and I'm so thrilled to have Steve back with me.
Great to be back in the booth with you.
For those of you that don't remember, we did Wenatchee Panthers sports for, 8 years?
Did a little bit of cashmere along the way.
We did. We did a little bit of everything.
Yeah, we did. Did a lot of windshield time doing those basketball games.
Yeah, it's great to be with you again, Steve. Zoe Sundett will lead things off for the Wildcats here in the top of the fourth. A pitch high from Sanford. Sundett, her first time up, a little pop fly to the shortstop. That was back in the first inning. Right down the middle that time, right to the shortstop, Christian Sanford. Over to first base, Maddie Peters, 6-3, and that's 1 out here in the top of the fourth inning.
Tell you what, Sundett gets down the line in a big hurry, because if you watch that play, how quick Sanford got the ball out of her glove at shortstop. I mean, she scooped that, and her arm was already in motion.
Sundett does have some wheels. Now it's lefty against lefty as Caitlin Duncan comes to the plate. Struck out her first time up, takes strike 1 here. 1 out, top of the fourth. 0-1 the count on Caitlin Duncan. Up next is Riley Cox, the pitcher. Swing and a miss, strike 2, quickly 0-2 on the first baseman, Duncan. Duncan, a sophomore. There's lots of them on both these squads. Here's the pitch from Sanford. Hit into shallow right field, and that'll drop in for a base hit. So the second hit for the Wildcats in the ball game, it's Duncan. And that brings up Riley Cox. Cox grounded out to the shortstop her last time at bat. That was in the second inning. Right-handed batter against the lefty, Kaylee Sanford. Swing and a miss on that pitch. 0-1 the count. So Cox, or I should say Kaylee Sanford, Steve, it's been kind of that kind of game for her, ups and downs, kind of a roller coaster ride. 3 walks, a couple of strikeouts. So when she's good, and when she's kind of off, she walks a couple of people, and she's only given up 2 hits, so that's a success into the 4th inning.
You're right.
That one's fouled back, by the way, by Cox. Runner at first base, Caitlin Duncan, 1 out here, top of the 4th inning. Here's the pitch late on that swing, and a strikeout on the opposing pitcher, Kylie Cox. 3 pitches, third strikeout, right. Yeah, 3rd strikeout of the night for Kaylee Sanford to go along with 3 walks and only 2 hits, and that brings up Maya McGuire, now the left fielder. She struck out her last time up. Fastball outside, 1-0 the count. Sanford gets the sign from Shavilicek, the catcher, and right up the middle, smacked hard. Ramirez making a play on it there, and a nice play quickly in, and that will keep the runner at second base, Caitlin Duncan. But a couple of singles now here in the top of the 4th inning by the Wildcats, and they have runners at first and second base. Brings up the number 9 hitter, Kylie Cordell, who also singled her last time up.
Well, I'll tell you how nice this weather is to play softball in. Everybody's either in T-shirts or shirt sleeves. I don't even see any jackets in the fans
It's
today.
amazing, amazing. And the nice part about the Apple Blossom Festival this week, Steve, is the weather is just going to warm up each day this week. We're going to top off at about 81 on Thursday, but we're going to stay in the upper 70s right through the weekend starting tomorrow. So this stretch of weather looks great. Here's the pitch to Cordell, outside.
I'll tell you, a lot of people in town for the Apple Blossom Festival. I went to the carnival at the Town Toyota Center on Monday night. You couldn't move. It was just bunched up, people having a great time.
Wristband night. It always does that too, doesn't it? That one fouled off the leg of Cordell. 2 balls, 1 strike. Cordell reaches base, back to the top of the lineup, and Nia Peasley. Here's the pitch, hit deep into left field, but it goes foul.
I'll tell you, that was right at the fence out there.
Boy, it sure was.
I mean, that's extra bases if that ball falls fair.
Cordell smiles as the umpire hands the bat back to her. 2 balls, 2 strikes now on the catcher, Kylie Cordell, with Nia Peasley on deck. Runners at first and second. It's Duncan at second, McGuire at first. Here's the pitch, swing and a miss. And Sanford gets out of the inning. 2 hits, no errors, no runs for the Wildcats. We head to the bottom of the 4th inning. It's Panthers 3 and Wildcats nothing. Back with more on the NCW Life Channel right after this. Bottom of the 4th inning for the Panthers brings up Callista Strickland, who had a single her last time and scored a run. She'll be followed by the 3rd baseman, Michaela Michael, with 2 RBIs in this game already, and then Maddie Peters, the 1st baseman. Riley Cox stays on the mound for the Wildcats. And Strickland, after Shavilicek in that second, got things going in that 3-run second inning for the Panthers. Gets the bat on that one, but fouls it off. 0-1 the count. Do want to mention that our coaches' interviews and our pregame show were brought to you by Heritage Memorial Chapel, a funeral home with a heritage owned by a trusted friend. Pop out to Nia Peasley in center. And that's out number 1 for the Panthers here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Up next, Michaela Michael, who really got things going for the Panthers. A single, 2 RBIs back in that second inning. She scored a run to make it 3-0 Panthers. This time, nobody on base for Michael. 1 out here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Really, Steve, neither pitcher has been in really any kind of trouble. A little bit for Cox in that second, but it wasn't like, boy, she's just getting bombarded. She gave up 3 hits in a row and a couple of runs.
Well, she hasn't allowed any hits except for the 4 hits in that second inning that brought in 3 runs. Other than that, you know, she's really pitched well.
Hasn't walked anyone, 1 strikeout so far. And once again, here's Michael. She smacks it into right field, and it's caught there by Zoe Sundette. And quickly, that's 2 outs for the Panthers here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Now it's Maddie Peters, the first baseman. She struck out, the only strikeout so far for Cox in this ball game. And if Peters gets on, she'll be followed by the 9th hitter, Kat Smith. Nobody on, bottom of the 4th. High and outside on that first pitch from Cox. 1-0 the count on the first baseman, Peters. Here's the pitch. Nice changeup that time, right over the plate. Strike 1, evens up the count at 1-1. And Steve, we talked about in the pregame how important these next 4 games are between these 2 teams. Eastmont at 11-1 in league play. The Panthers at 12-3. So 2 games separate them. As that strike 2 on Peters. And that number 2 spot in the seedings going into the playoffs is huge. You get a bit of a break. Don't have to play the 6th place team. Looks like that will be Davis right now, fouled away. 2 strikes.
Well, you just want to get that break anyway because, you know, even though it's the 6th seed, I mean, how many times have you watched playoffs, whether they're basketball or baseball or softball, and on any given day, sometimes you just don't know what's going to happen. Hello, Virginia in the NCAA basketball
Absolutely, tournament. And there's a hit right up the middle by Peters. And a 2-out single now for the first baseman, her first hit of the game. And the Panthers have a base runner now here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Brings up Kat Smith, the left fielder.
5th hit given up by Cox.
Smith, a right-handed batter, only a freshman, swing and a miss. What did Smith do her last time up, Steve?
Single to left field back in the 2nd inning.
Right. Boy, that's right. She did that same thing last time. Didn't she poke it into the opposite field over the shortstop's head, or last time up in the 2nd? That's right. She does have a base runner to work with this time, too. It's Maddie Peters on at first. 2 outs. Nobody across the plate here in the 4th. Score still 3-0 Panthers. Center fielder Nia Peasley shading towards left field. Swing and a miss. That's strike 3, and that ends the inning. So the Panthers 1 hit, no runs, no errors as we go to the top of the 5th inning. Our score remains Wenatchee 3, Eastmont 0. We're back with more from Walla Walla Park on the NCW Life Channel right after this. Well, we quickly go to the top of the 5th inning. The Panthers lead it 3-0, and up first, the top of the order for the Eastmont Wildcats. Nia Peasley, 0 for 2 in the ballgame, 2 walks so far. Hasn't crossed home plate, nor has any Wildcat so far in this game. Once again, the lefty Kaylee Sanford stays on the mound as we move to the top of the 5th. Peasley up there swinging on the first pitch, and the right fielder Strickland can't get over to it. It's a foul ball, 0-1 the count. Steve, you're familiar with Max Prep Sports.
Absolutely.
So they have the rankings in 4A softball. Moses Lake in 8th in the state right now. Eastmont ranked at number 18 and Wenatchee at number 23. For whatever that's worth. Ground ball to the 3rd baseman, Michael, who is playing very shallow, and the ball is dropped by Peters, the first baseman. And Nia Peasley, with that great speed, gets on at first base.
That'll be an error.
That's 2 errors on the Panthers, I think, in this ballgame, isn't it, Steve? I think that's the 2nd. Maybe it was Eastmont that had the error.
No, Eastmont had the error.
So an error apiece in this one, and that brings up Emily Craddock, the 3rd baseman. And she gets a single into right field. Here's Peasley rounding second with that great speed. She'll get all the way to third, and the Wildcats have something going now here in the top of the 5th inning. And Craddock, the second consecutive, well, I guess it wasn't a hit. Peasley reached on an error, but runners at first and third now with Peasley. Lots of speed at third base. Craddock at first brings up Colby Vauchal.
Peasley never even broke stride. She knew where she was going from the get-go the minute the ball was hit into the right field.
Vauchal is 0 for 2 in this one. A ground out to the second baseman and a fly out to the right fielder so far in this game. Has a chance to make some noise now. Nobody out here top of the 5th.
Big opportunity for the Wildcats here with runners on the corners.
Beautiful pitch by Sanford. Bit of a curve ball that caught the outside part of the plate, and it's 0-1 now on Vauchal. She takes a smack at it. The left fielder is not going to get there. That's Kat Smith, and that will score Peasley. And the Wildcats on the board now. We've got a 3-1 ball game. Nice poke into left field by Colby Vauchal. 2 consecutive singles now given up by Kaylee Sanford, and that brings up the cleanup hitter. Kenzie Young, the second baseman, walked in the first inning and grounded out to the first baseman in the third. Right-handed batter, runners at first and second. 3-1, Panthers lead it. Here's the pitch by Sanford outside. 1-0 the count. Zoe Sundet is on deck. Caitlin Duncan in the hole. Pitch high this time to Young. Eastmont faithful, a little bit of life now, and they're feeling something here in the top of the 5th inning. Ball singled into left field over the outstretched arms of Michaela Michael. An error in left field by Kat Smith. That will allow Craddock to score. Vauchal scores. 2 runs in, and we are tied up.
So that'll go as a hit and an error. And both those runs become unearned to Sanford.
Kenzie Young, a single, scores 2 runs. She's at second base, and we are tied up 3-3, no out here for the Wildcats in the top of the 5th inning. And a bit of a meeting now on the mound by the Panthers. Just to settle things down a little bit, I think, out there. 3 consecutive singles given up by Kaylee Sanford here in the top of the 5th. Peasley reached on an error. She has scored. Craddock has scored. Vauchal has scored as well. And Kenzie Young, as Steve mentioned, on a single and then an error, stands at second base.
And 2 errors in this inning against the Panthers.
And now Zoe Sundet comes up with that great speed. She's 0 for 2. She flew out to the shortstop her first time up. And we've got a runner. Abby King comes out to run for the Wildcats. She's a senior. But that doesn't mean that Young can't go in and play. She can come back in. They have designated runners, just like baseball.
Correct.
Yep. Now we'll see what Sundet can do. Runner at second base, no outs here in the top of the 5th. It's popped up right to the first baseman, Maddie Peters, looking into the sun and makes the catch, and that's a big out for the Panthers. Out number 1. Now it's the number 6 hitter in the lineup, the first baseman, Caitlin Duncan. She struck out in the second inning and singled back in the 4th. Left-handed hitter against the lefty, Kaylee Sanford. 1 out, 1 on for the Wildcats. Up there swinging, and it's going to go out of play just outside the third base line. Michaela Michael thought she might have had a play on it, but it just faded out of bounds on this gorgeous, gorgeous afternoon here in the Wenatchee Valley. Not much wind to speak of today. We've had a couple of days of it, but today seems pretty nice out there. Did she go around? She did not. So it's Duncan at the plate, should be followed by Riley Cox. All 4 strikeouts for Sanford, by the way, is in the bottom of this order. The 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th hitters, 4 strikeouts for Sanford. Coach Grothy has a little bit of a question, I guess, for the umpires. Steve, you know what this might be about?
I'm not sure what this is about. Whatever it is, he didn't say it in the lowest of tones.
No, he didn't.
So I'm not sure what that was.
Caitlin Duncan back in the batter's box as Sanford gets ready to deliver. Runner at second base, Kenzie Young. Here's the pitch, a nubber to the third baseman, Michael, who bobbles it a little bit, but is able to get over to third base and tag out the runner, Kenzie Young. So a heads-up play, even though she bobbled it by Michaela Michael, Steve. And maybe not the best idea for Young to go to third base there.
No, and you know, so whoever the pinch runner was that they put in for Young at second base, they put her in for speed because she was in scoring position. So Young can come back in, but the substitute will be unavailable the rest of the game. But that really took the runner out of scoring position.
You're right, Steve. It
You know,
was
that
Abby
may be
King.
one of those, because she bobbled the ball. That may be one of those where you force her to look the runner back, see if she can make a play to first.
Absolutely. Ball gets away from the catcher, Shavilicek, this time, and that'll allow Duncan to scramble down to second base. First wild pitch we've seen.
So Duncan's on a fielder's choice as they got the runner out at third.
All right. If Cox makes it on base, she'll be followed by Maya McGuire. Cox, a ground out to the shortstop, her first time up, struck out back in the fourth. This one's high. Once again, standing at second base, Caitlin Duncan. Three ball game here from Walla Walla Point Park. Hope you're enjoying it tonight on the NCW Life Channel. Pop up into the net just to our right. Two balls, one strike on the hitter, Riley Cox. Pitcher against pitcher here with 2 outs, top of the 5th inning. Weak swing, but it may fall in there. Coming in is Kat Smith. No, it doesn't. She makes the catch for out number 3. But the Wildcats, 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 errors in the inning, and we are all tied up as we head to the bottom of the 5th inning. Wenatchee 3, Eastmont 3. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this. So the Wildcats show a little life in the top of the 5th inning. 4 hits, 3 runs for the Wildcats back in that top of the 5th, and we are all tied up. Sanford now has given up 6 hits to the Wildcats, while Riley Cox, her counterpart, has given up 5 hits to the Panthers. Panthers also 2 errors so far in the ball game, 1 against the Wildcats in this 3-3 ball game. The 11-1 Wildcats and the 12-3 Panthers. Here's Cox's first pitch. The batter, top of the order, Kristen Sanford. Sanford singled back in the second, flew out, popped up to the catcher her first time up. She'll be followed by Olivia Ramirez and Missy Bennett. 2 balls, no strikes on the leadoff hitter, bottom of the 5th, Kristen Sanford. Right-handed pitcher against left-handed batter. And there's another hit for Sanford out into left field, played by Maya McGuire out there. Gets it in quickly, and the Panthers have something cooking here. Nobody out, and a runner on at first base in the bottom of the 5th. 2 for 3 now in the afternoon for Kristen Sanford. Brings up Olivia Ramirez, has grounded out twice to the second baseman. 0 for 2 in this one. Attempted bunt by Ramirez. Bunts right through, tried to bunt, it went right through it. 0-1 now the count.
And you get to the part of the game now where you're just trying to move runners into scoring position.
Especially when it's tied up.
Right.
Is it warm enough today, Steve, for these pitchers to get a little bit tired? And can you say it's heat today?
No, I don't think it's heat. I mean, it's
I don't either.
68 degrees out, so I think it's really comfortable. But you got to go back and start looking at the pitch count.
Right.
You know, Cox threw a lot of pitches in that second inning where 8 batters came to the plate for the Panthers.
Ramirez tries to bunt it again, and it's foul. That's 2 strikes now on Ramirez. Runner at first base, Christian Sanford. 1 ball, 2 strikes on the Panthers' center fielder, Ramirez. Here's the pitch, swing, and an opposite field hit. That should get Sanford over to third base. It does. Played in right field by Sundet. And the Panthers now have something going here. Runners at the corners. Nobody out here in the bottom of the first inning. Nice bit of hitting by Olivia Ramirez. Showed bunt a couple of times and then pokes it over the opposite field, and that allows Sanford to motor around second and head into third base. Now it's Missy Bennett, the third batter in the lineup, second baseman, 0 for 2 this afternoon.
So a big opportunity for the Panthers here in a tie ball game with runners on the corners and nobody out.
Bennett has flown out to the center fielder both times up today. After Bennett, it's Kaylee Sanford and then Beth Shavilicek. Here's Cox, the pitch inside. Nice stop by the catcher, Kylie Cordell. Getting those pads in front of it. Steve, we've seen some singles, but I don't think we've seen an extra base hit today.
Not today.
All singles so far in 11 hits.
Be interesting to see if it's a ground ball to infield, whether they look the runner back at third or let her go for the double play. I would think you got to at least take a look at her in a tie ball game.
I do too.
Particularly this late in the game.
2 balls, no strike to Missy Bennett. Ramirez at first, Sanford at third. This pitch high and inside, and she walks. And the bases are loaded now for the Panthers, and it's kind of the situation you want, Steve. Your cleanup hitters coming to the plate, Kaylee Sanford. Unfortunately, she's 0 for 2 with 2 pop-ups in this game, 1 to the shortstop and 1 to the catcher.
Well, that's the first walk of the game given up by Cox for the Wildcats.
Whereas Sanford, I think, has given up 3, right? I believe.
Yep.
So right-handed pitcher against left-handed batter. The bases are loaded for the Panthers outside ball 1. So it's Kaylee Sanford followed by Beth Shavilicek and then Callista Strickland. And that's where all the damage has been done. The 6 through 8 hitters for the Panthers today. Ball's hit on the ground to the shortstop. It's bobbled by Vauchal. All runners safe, and Sanford scores. Seemed like a fairly routine play, didn't it, Steve?
Yeah, second error of the afternoon. You know, sometimes you get a ground ball like that and you start thinking real quick. Bases are loaded. You know, do I have a shot at her at the plate for a force out? Do I go to first? And I think, you know, she may have just taken her eye off the ball with that error.
Here's Beth Shavilicek now. First pitch swinging, and it's fouled down the first base line. Panthers bases loaded. Ramirez on third. Missy Bennett on second. Kaylee Sanford on first. Still no out here in the bottom of the 5th. The Panthers lead at 4-3. The pitch from Cox. Swung on by Shavilicek, and it's going to drop fair in between first base and right field. That will score another run. It'll score 2 runs. Heads up base running by Missy Bennett to score from second on that seemingly easy hit out to right field. And the Panthers now 2 more runs. That's 3 this inning. And lead it 6-3. With runners at first and second, Shavilicek on with that single at first. Sanford reached on an error. She's at second base. A designated runner coming in for the Panthers. And I don't know who that is, Steve. I don't have a 14 on my roster. Well, I think we have it on here. It's Aaron Jackson has come in to run. Here's a pop-up and an easy play for Vauchal, the shortstop, and that's out number 1 as Strickland pops out. So 1 out now. Runners still at first and second for the Panthers. But 3 runs across the plate here in the bottom of the 5th, and the Panthers now lead at 6-3 with Michaela Michael at the plate. She is 1 for 2, a single. First pitch swinging as well, a single back in the second, then a fly ball out to right field her last time up. She'll be followed by Maddie Peters. And if we get there, Kat Smith, the number 9 hitter. Sanford at first, Shavilicek at second, Shavilicek at first. Starting pitcher Riley Cox still out there on the mound, has now given up 6 hits. This ball high and a little bit outside. Gets set in the box as Cox checks the sign from Cordell at home plate. Here's the pitch, and it's poked to the second baseman, and a double play as Shavilicek was off first, heading to second. Easy double play, and that will end the bottom of the 5th. But what a bottom of the 5th it was for the Panthers. They had 3 hits in that inning, put 3 runs across, an error on the Wildcats. And as we move to the top of the 6th inning, it's now Wenatchee 6, Eastmont 3. We're back with the bottom of the inning, or top of the inning, I should say, right after this. Top of the 6th inning we go. The Panthers push 3 across in the bottom of the 5th and now lead it 6-3. And Steve, some interesting tidbits about this series from our buddy Bruce Bennett, who gives us the Bruce Report. In this series, in the early years, 1986 to 2001, Wenatchee led the series 18-2. But from 2002 to 2018, Eastmont leads it 21-17. So overall, it's Wenatchee 35, Eastmont 24. Interesting. Maya McGuire first up here in the top of the 6th, fouls it down the third baseline. McGuire 1 of 2 so far in the game, a strikeout and a single back in the 4th. She'll be followed by Kylie Cordell at the 9th spot, and then it's back to the top of the order and Nia Peasley. The lefty, Kaylee Sanford, still out there, her final home game as a senior. This one's hit hard but fouled off. 0-2 now quickly to McGuire. I love the cut that McGuire takes. I'm kind of surprised she bats 8, but she just swings so hard.
She does swing hard. 3, 6, and 2 on the line score for Eastmont so far. 6, 7, and 2 for the Panthers.
Here's a pop fly into left field. Kat Smith with a beat on it, makes the catch, and that is out number 1 here in the top of the 6th. So Kylie Cordell comes to the plate. She also 1 for 2 in the afternoon. Struck out her last time up back in the 4th and singled in the 3rd. Right-handed hitter against the lefty Sanford. Nobody on here for Eastmont. 1 out, top of the 6th. Sanford rocks, delivers. The bunt is laid down nicely. There's Sanford on the play to first base, and Peters missed it again. And that's another error on the Panthers as Cordell will stay safe at first. And that's the second drop now by Peters in this ball game. And they've come at pretty big times too, haven't they, Steve?
Yep.
So Cordell will be on at first. And then the top of the order now, it's Nia Peasley, Emily Craddock, and Colby Vauchal.
Tough play at first base. I mean, it's easy to, for somebody like Peters to get distracted because that ball arrived almost, half a step ahead of the runner on a bang-bang play, but an E3 at first base.
And Steve, you have that runner bearing down on you that you can see in your peripheral vision, you know what I mean? And that kind of plays with your head a little bit too. Here's Peasley now. The ball gets away from the catcher, Shavilicek, and that will allow Cordell to move down to second base. Another error on the Panthers right there.
Pass ball.
Pass ball as Cordell goes to second. 1-0 the count on Peasley. Curveball misses the outside corner. 2-0 the count. Both pitchers may be feeling a little bit winded here as we move on to the later part of the game. They've given up a lot of runs from the 5th inning and the 6th inning, both pitchers. There's a fastball, strike on the outside corner. 2 balls, 1 strike, I believe it is, on Nia Peasley, who I mentioned will be followed by Emily Craddock. Sanford winds up, delivers. Ball is dropped by Shavilicek. Might be a play at third and not in time, and heads up base running by Cordell. And Wildcats have a runner at third base, 1 out here in the top of the 6th inning. Peasley 2 walks and reached on an error. There's a base hit through the left side of the infield. That scores Cordell. And we've got a 6-4 ball game as Peasley collects her first hit of the ball game. 1 out here in the 6th. That brings up Emily Craddock, the third baseman, who is 2 for 3 on the afternoon. A single and a run scored back in the 5th. Lots of speed at first base now with Peasley there. Craddock will be followed by Vauchal. Ball is hit sharply to Sanford, who doubles up Peasley off of first base, and the Panthers get out of this inning.
Pitcher's favorite play, the double play.
How about that? So a single, a run, and an error in that inning, and at the bottom of the 6th inning we go. It's the Panthers 6 and the Wildcats 4. More baseball from Walla Walla Park on the NCW Life Channel right after this. Bottom of the 6th inning, it's Wenatchee 6 and Eastmont 4. First up for the Panthers is Michaela Michael, the third baseman, who is 1 for 2 this afternoon. Singled back in the 2nd, scored a run, flew out to the right fielder her last time up. No, I got a different, I'm not the right, I got Maddie Peters is up. The first baseman. Fouls this one. So Peters first up. She'll be followed by Kat Smith. In the top of the order, Kristen Sanford. Peters a single and a strikeout in this game. A little pop-up. The shortstop slides over Vauchal and makes the play. And that's out number 1. Now it's the freshman for the Panthers, Kat Smith, the left fielder, singled and struck out her last time up in the 4th inning. Left-handed batter against the right-handed pitcher. A little nubber right to the pitcher, Cox, and in time to Duncan. 1-3 on that put out, and quickly 2 outs on the Panthers. Back to the top of the order now, and Kristen Sanford, 2 out of 3 on the afternoon, 2 singles, a run scored.
That's tough when you're trying to bunt to get on, because a comebacker right to the pitcher, you want to send it anywhere other than back to the pitcher to make that easy a play.
Absolutely. Down either line, right, Steve? That's the best bunt. 1-0 the count. Pitch is outside on Kristen Sanford. Should be followed by Olivia Ramirez and then possibly Missy Bennett. Sanford's had a nice game, as I mentioned, 2 out of 3. Hits this one in the air out to center field in Peasley, and that is a 1-2-3 inning for the Wildcats. One more chance for Eastmont as we head to the top of the 7th inning. It's Wenatchee on top, 6-4, with Eastmont coming to bat in the 7th right after this. Last chance for the Wildcats here as we go to the top of the 7th inning. Wildcats down 6-4. They bring up Colby Vauchal to the plate. She'll be followed by Kenzie Young and Zoe Sundet. 1 for 3 so far in the afternoon for Vauchal. Ball 1 from the pitcher Kaylee Sanford, the senior, trying to pitch a complete game here in her final home game for the Panthers. It's been an interesting afternoon, you got to say, I guess, for Sanford. Ball is hit well out into center field as Ramirez at the fence makes the catch. Boy, Vauchal gave that a ride.
That's one of the furthest balls we've seen hit in the game this afternoon, actually.
By far, Steve, I agree. Other than the foul ball, I think, that went to left field early on. So quickly 1 out, 2 outs remaining for Eastmont as Kenzie Young comes to the plate. Young 1 of 2, including a walk. She did single back in that big 5th inning for the Wildcats. Nobody on, 1 out here, top of the 7th. Here's the pitch by Sanford. Outside corner, strike one. Boy, you know Sanford has to want this complete game, her final game as a senior.
Sure she does.
Here's the pitch high on that one, 1-1 the count.
She just needs to keep her adrenaline in check and play with, inside of herself.
Absolutely. Here's the pitch right down the middle of the plate to the shortstop, Kristen Sanford. To first base, Peters holds on, and that is out number 2.
Great play by the shortstop. That ball took a short hop on her, and she scooped it right up. That was a great defensive play.
So the Panthers 1 out away from creeping 1 game closer to that second place spot in the Big Nine. Panthers 12-3, Eastmont 11-1. And two teams play each other again in a doubleheader on Friday. That should be great. First pitch to the next batter, Zoe Sundet, is a ball high.
Well, and you know the crowd for that doubleheader will be big.
It sure will. Sundet is 0 for 3 in the ball game. That pitch a little bit low. 2 down, nobody out here, top of the 7th inning. Sanford delivers high that time. Sundet watches it go by. If Sundet reaches base, she'll be followed by Caitlin Duncan.
I think on 3-0, she takes it all the way. They need base runners.
4 straight pitches, she took it. You're right, Steve. And Eastmont does have a base runner. It's Sundet with some speed at first base. Now it's Caitlin Duncan, the left-handed batter, 1 of 2.
4th walk of the afternoon for Sanford.
4 strikeouts, 4 walks. It's been that kind of day for Sanford. First pitch strike to Caitlin Duncan. If she reaches, Riley Cox, the pitcher, will come up. As I mentioned, Duncan 1 out of 2, a single in the 4th and a strikeout in the 2nd. She did reach on a fielder's choice back in the 5th. Sanford rocks and delivers high and outside. Once again, base runner at first base, the speedy Zoe Sundet. Panthers playing straight away. It's pitched low. Now Sanford throwing a lot of balls in there. 1 strike and I think 5 balls to these first 2 batters.
Well, she wants to settle down now. I mean, because she's got 2 outs, and this is the tying run at the plate. So
pitch is outside. 3 balls, 1 strike on the batter, Caitlin Duncan, with Riley Cox on deck. 2 out, top of the 7. Panthers lead it by 2, 6-4. Here's the pitch from Sanford, inside corner, and catches it. I don't think Duncan thought it was a strike. She was heading to first base, and we have a full count now. So Eastmont could be down to their last strike here. Here's the pitch, and it's high, and another base runner for the Wildcats as Sundet heads to second, Duncan to first. 2 consecutive walks by Sanford. What do you do if you're Coach Grothe now, Steve? Do you get somebody up? I don't see anybody even.
I don't know that he has anybody.
Maybe he doesn't.
I think it'd have to be another position player.
Now the catcher Shavilicek out to talk to Kaylee Sanford, maybe just to tell her, Kaylee, we've got 2 outs. We're ahead by 2. Let's finish this up.
This is going to be a pinch hitter for Riley Cox. Serenity Python. She's a senior.
First time we've seen her. Serenity Pythian with a runner at first base. And she gets a hit right at the right fielder. Does she hold on? Strickland, she did, and that will be the game. And that ball was pounded pretty good by Pythian. And that will do it. The Panthers come out with a victory here, 6-4 at Walla Walla Point Park, and that improves them to 13-3 in league play and drops the Eastmont Wildcats to 11-2 in league play. And as I mentioned, and we've been mentioning all night or all afternoon, these two teams play twice in a doubleheader coming up on Friday. We'll take a break, come back and wrap this up from Walla Walla Point Park. Once again, our final score, Wenatchee 6 and Eastmont 4. We'll be back at Walla Walla Point Park right after this.